Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay, and for my final project I researched punk fashion and Victorian fashion. So punk fashion comes from the UK or the US, we're not totally sure, and it was most popular in the 1970s and 1980s, but it's still a little popular today, especially among punk musicians. There's still a lot of people who make punk music who wear punk style clothes. So punk fashion looks casual, but it's a little different than normal casual clothing. It can be ripped and torn, and there's a lot of black, sometimes leather, and maybe metal studs. It's very dark and cool, which is one reason I think punk fashion is special. It's actually one of the coolest styles, I think, that still exists today. So in this picture, you can see punk fashion and punk hairstyles. So these are some jackets with studs and lots of black and leather. And you can also see a mohawk, which is a very popular punk hairstyle. Next, I will talk about Victorian fashion. So, Victorian fashion came from England, and it was popular in the 1830s all the way until the 1900s. But today, it's not popular. People don't wear Victorian clothing, only in movies. Victorian women's clothing were big, beautiful dresses that had very large sleeves and skirts, and sometimes hats. Men's Victorian clothing included long coats and vests, and sometimes top hats also. I think Victorian fashion is special because it's very fancy, and it was mostly worn by rich people or people with a lot of money. It's a lot fancier than punk fashion. So in this picture, you can see Victorian women's clothing. They have big sleeves and big skirts and hats also. In this picture, you can see Victorian men's clothing. They have long coats and vests and top hats. So, in my opinion, I like punk fashion because I think it's very interesting. It's darker and dirtier than Victorian fashion, but still cool. I also liked Victorian fashion. I think it's really beautiful. Actually, I think it's one of the most beautiful types of fashion I have ever seen. But also, it seems more uncomfortable than the clothing we wear today, so I think I wouldn't like to wear it. I'm glad we don't wear it today. In conclusion, I think both punk fashion and Victorian fashion is cool and interesting. I like to look at both fashion styles, but I don't think I would like to wear punk or Victorian clothes today. Thank you for listening.